My girlfriend confided me that she is asexual. How do I proceed? So I still love my girlfriend, but a recent revelation has me a bit confused on if I should continue a romantic relationship with her. Me, 25 meters, and my GF, 22F, met in college, and have been dating happily for a little less than 3 years. We have sex semi-regularly, less than I want, and it tends to be rather vanilla. I have a lot of fetishes, so I thought maybe, if we shared fetishes it would encourage more sex. The response was not either of the ones I was expecting. Yes or no, but rather she confided in me that she was asexual. I asked a few questions if she was only saying that to save my feelings because she was no longer attracted to me, and she said definitely not. I asked if this was a new revelation about herself, and she told me it was lifelong. I asked what about all the sex we have had up until this point, and she said it is physically enjoyable, kind of like a really good runner's high, but there is no lust component. I know she meant well, but this part kind of stung. We let the conversation go, and I have been thinking about it for a few weeks, and decided that, if she really doesn't have any sexual attraction to me, and I still care about her, wouldn't it be better to just be good friends? So I told her this, and she broke down crying, explaining she still romantically loves me, and that she never meant to mess up the relationship and she always thought we were gonna get married one day. So I comforted her and we kissed and cuddled on the couch for a while, and she promised to initiate sex with me as much as she could, and she has definitely offered, but now that I know she is asexual I feel like she is forcing herself, and I love her and never want that to be the case, so I have been turning her down. TL, doctor, my girlfriend is asexual. She says she loves me, and I believe her, and I love her too, but if she feels no sexual attraction to me, wouldn't it make sense to simply be good friends? Unlike the rest of the LGBT community, I don't quite understand what asexual means aside from Google definitions and what she explained to me, but it doesn't seem to make sense to be romantic instead of platonic, and IDK what to do. Edit. I appreciate all your advice. If I don't respond personally to you, don't think I'm snubbing you. I'm just overwhelmed with all the responses. Ace woman in a relationship here. To start, I wouldn't blame you for deciding to break up with her, but there's also a ton of misconceptions about being ace. Asexuality is a wide spectrum ranging from demisexuality to sex repulsion, and the key in knowing if your relationship can survive is where on the spectrum she is. Your girlfriend describes sex as being physically pleasurable, which means she's likely sex indifferent or even sex positive, especially since you say she initiates. I think a lot of people struggle to separate love, attraction, and lust. Your girlfriend is asexual, not aromantic. She loves you just as much as you love her. Attraction and lust are slightly different for ace people though. Personally, I describe my view of attraction to people as being very similar to looking at a nice painting. You can think it's the most beautiful painting in the world, but you don't want to have sex with it. It's also understandable to want a partner who feels attraction towards you, and for this to be a deal breaker. Ace people do still have sex drives, so I fully believe her when she says she finds it pleasant to be intimate with you. This is speculation on my part, but she's also been coming to you trying to init it, which to me from your description shows she's likely more on the sex positive side. This also greatly affects my advice. If she took sex off the table, I'd say you two aren't compatible, but that doesn't seem to be the case. That being said, my boyfriend decided he was okay with this. It's okay to decide you aren't. Yeah. Like you were saying, she said at some level it is pleasurable, and I'm taking her at face value for that. I don't think she is anti-sex. I think she is sex neutral. Not sure if a term like that exists. Now that I'm looking for it, I get the vibe it is more something she does to make me happy more than anything else. Hey, IDK if this helps, especially since I'm not ace myself, but I understand it this way. My mom is not naturally physically affectionate and doesn't actively enjoy hugs or anything. She'll rarely be the first to initiate, and usually if she does it's because she's cold, haha, something my dad and I like to laugh about. However, unless she specifically doesn't want to in the moment, she's happy to receive hugs from me and to reciprocate because she knows that I'm physically affectionate, and she enjoys both receiving that affection from me and to return that affection back in that specific language or form of communication if you will. Occasionally, she'll even initiate the hug. Again, usually because she wants me to feel loved in that way and is happy to make me feel loved in that way. Conversely, she really likes birthday cards. They don't matter that much to me personally. On her birthday, I always make sure to give her a thoughtful card because I know that makes her feel loved. I don't not enjoy writing it for her because I know it will make her happy, and that matters more to me. When she gives me birthday cards and little random notes in my lunches when I was a kid, they matter a ton to me because I know how much they mean to her when she gets them, and I understand how much she's saying she loves me by taking the time to write these cards/notes. What I'm trying to get at, from what I'm sensing from what you've described about your GF, I get the feeling that she enjoys having sex with you because it's a demonstration of your love for each other. It's not her primary thing, and she might not often seek it out, but she does it because she loves you, and that right there is just as much an act of love as sex usually is, if not more so. If it bothers you that she doesn't find you as physically compelling as you do her, that's completely understandable and a more fair enough reason to want to split up. But, again, if I'm understanding her well, don't think she does it because she feels obligated to. I think she enjoys doing it because she loves you, and she loves the various ways she can express loving you. If you're a guy with a lot of fetishes and fantasies, this is the wrong girl for you. You will just get frustrated and resent her eventually. No bad guys here, just not compatible. I don't think she means she doesn't like you anymore. She just said that there is no lust component. Eager way to see it is as just a lack of sex drive. She clearly still loves you. So I'd urge you to do a bit more research and ask respectful questions about anything you're worried about. Romantic love is one of the best feeling and a pretty easy one to accomplish. Best wishes to both of you. No, I have a lot of trust in her. If she says she loves me, I'm willing to believe that. But is the kind of love I'm looking for in a lover rather than best friend? I'm not gonna do anything to rash, but it is something I'm mulling over and trying to gain more info about. I made this account specifically cause she knows my Reddit account. I'm somewhere on the asexual spectrum, I think. Like your GF. I enjoy sex, but it isn't something I typically have urges for. They are quite few and far between. The way I explained it to my boyfriend is that I do enjoy sex once we get going and the sexual activity starts, but I rarely feel horny on my own. He didn't seem to mind this explanation, so hopefully it clears things up for you. I get the feeling your GF is quite similar to me. It isn't about lust for me. It's just that I don't feel regular sexual urges unless someone gets me in the mood. Bro, I think that there is no good answer. Even though she said she will try to initiate sex as much as she can. The problem is, are you okay with this? For me, desire makes 99% of sex. Since she's asexual, even if you do have sex with her sometimes, would you like it? Would you be comfortable knowing she's only doing this for you? Personally, I want to feel sexually wanted, and the idea of having sex with someone that truly don't really want to is a turn off for me. I know she loves you, and you love her, but keep in mind that for the rest of your life it's going to be like this. I'm similar to this. I'm sometimes in a mood, and I experience sexual attraction. But when it comes down to it, I'm just indifferent. It's just like an exercise. That feels good. She described that very well. So yes, she is choosing to have sex with you for you, but she doesn't feel violated, and she's not upset about it. It's the same kind of thing as her cooking you dinner. Disregard that if she likes cooking lol or something. It's an act of love. She's still enjoying the sex. She's still attracted to you. Nothing really has to change except the title. She seems to want to continue having sex to keep you happy, but she isn't making herself unhappy by doing it. IDK. Don't feel like she's doing it just to satiate you. She wants to do whatever she can to appreciate you, if that makes sense. Well, first of all, it's not your fault. Second, if she's suffering, then there's no harm in taking her up on it. Like she said, it's physically enjoyable for her. You gotta figure out if you're okay with it being this way though. I'd suggest maybe seeing a counselor to talk through your emotions about the situation. Reddit might give you some good advice, but this is more in the realm of what a counselor could help you with. 20-year-old asexual here. I've read a few of the other comments, so I'll try not to regurgitate too much. You're really left with the question of how important is sex to you? If it's extremely important, I'd say it'd be less painful in the long run to break up, because sexual incompatibility is definitely a reasonable reason to end a relationship. If sex isn't all that important, at least compared to your partner, then congrats. I'd start doing some research so you can support and understand your partner. Maybe even consider getting her an ace ring, a black ring worn on the right middle finger that the ace community uses as both a symbol of pride and to find each other. I think you're awesome for being empathetic and trying to understand and support your GF's sexuality, but you really need to think this through. The fact that you said you have a lot of fetishes really stood out to me. I have plenty of my own, and in the past, they have led me to be at crossroads with partners who were vanilla. Your GF is beyond vanilla. You may be better off finding someone more compatible, instead of being emotionally manipulated to remain in a situation where you aren't getting your needs met. In the long run it will save you much heartache and resentment. As a fellow asexual, honestly it's only up to you. It's dependent on if you want to have sex less than you want. Asexual people feel no sexual attraction, but we can still have sex. Sometimes it would be better to just be friends, or you can continue. The fact that you mentioned fetishes makes me think that she's not going to be able to satisfy your needs forever. It's great that you love each other, but you have your whole life ahead of you. Sounds like you either need to consider an arrangement where you can explore your sexuality with others, or accept that you're not gonna be doing some of the things you want to do. Good luck. If having a sex life is important to you, and she doesn't want to do sexual things with you, and also doesn't want you to have other partners, then you're incompatible and should break up. Her having sex with you to keep you in the relationship isn't a long-term solution. Yeah, I know a lot of people are going to try and tell you this isn't a big deal, but I would definitely walk over this. The idea of having sex with someone who was basically doing it for my sake is not appealing to me at all. Just like I would not date a man who was gay or a woman who was straight. I would not date an ace person. It's no offense to any asexuals. It's just a fundamental incompatibility. If your partner not being sexually attracted to you is a deal breaker, which it sounds like it is, you're totally justified to leave. Hey op. I know I'm a bit late to the party, but I hope you take some time to read my comment. I'm an asexual woman, and I have been in relationships where I have had and initiated sex with my partner. I'll be totally honest with you. Sex for sex positive asexuals can be fun, but it's a bit like being hungry but not wanting any particular food. But when you eat the food it's delicious. When I told my now ex-boyfriend that I was asexual, much like you, he really struggled with the idea of me not being sexually attracted to him, without understanding that sex isn't just about sexual attraction, but also emotional and romantic attraction. He said to me that he would consider breaking up with me often, because he couldn't understand how anyone would want to have sex without sexual attraction. Well, I know it's kinda hard to understand, of course, but a sex positive ace is able to have sex and enjoy sex with their partner. At some point in my relationship, he got so anxious about it and refused to have sex with me because he didn't want to push me, even though I was happy with having sex, that I turned around and said that actually I lied to him and that I'm not asexual. This seemed to work, and our relationship continued as normal. Our reason for breaking up had nothing to do with our sex life. To clarify, these days, if I want to have sex with someone, I never mention that I'm asexual, because I know how much it ducks with their head and that it doesn't actually matter in the short run if they know or not. I have a libido. I need it satisfied. Telling someone I'm ace usually doesn't help with that. From your girlfriend's perspective, she probably may regret telling you about it if you decide to end the relationship. In the future it's something she may not mention to a partner if she thinks it will ruin the relationship. Up until this point, your sex has been quite vanilla, and as you are into more exciting things, you should raise this with her and see how she feels. If she wants to participate for your benefit, please do not take that as you're forcing her to do something. I'll take you back to the food analogy, because I think it works well here. Say she just likes non-seasoned food when she eats, or when she's hungry. That's mostly because she's hungry and she needs to eat. The type of food doesn't matter too much, but it's easier to just have plain food. Say you wanted to offer to make her something with flavor or spice, and she says she's willing to try it for you because she appreciates you and wants to try stuff you like. That isn't her saying, "Ugh, now I have to do a thing that I don't want to do." It's more like, "Okay, I'll try something new for someone I love." If sex is so important to you, then I can understand your hesitation and feelings. I just wanted to let you know what it feels like on the other side. Please reach out to me if you have any more questions. I honestly don't think this is something you guys can work through. Sex seems like an integral part of a romantic relationship for you, but it's more of a chore for your girlfriend. But I don't think either of you should be trying to convince yourselves, or each other, of conforming to your sexual differences. It'll only end up breaking boundaries. You're already uncomfortable with the idea that your sexual needs aren't reciprocated. If you end up getting married, you'll be sexually frustrated, or your girlfriend will become more and more physically distant. By chance you end up opening the relationship. I don't see that going well either. You both seem strictly monogamous, since neither of you have even brought up the idea of an open relationship. If your girlfriend permits you to seek sexual pleasure elsewhere, she may be doing so out of fear of losing you. But if she isn't fully on board with the idea, she could start resenting you and/or the entire relationship. All I can say is good luck, Opus. It's an incredibly tricky situation. There are a lot of responses telling you that she loves you and what it really means to be asexual. One thing that's missing, at least from the top 15 comments, is that you're 25. You are a UG adult who still has lust and fetishes and an entire lifetime ahead of you. I'm not saying be selfish, but I'm saying think outside of your own shoes for a second. If a 25-year-old in a relationship who has fetishes and a normal 25-year-old sex drive asked you what he should do in your situation with consideration of his youth and lifetime, what ups you tell him? Just because it's a tough or upsetting conclusion now doesn't mean it's not right long term. Edit. I think my poorly written response was actually taken in the opposite way. I was personally thinking the sex would be a problem during your most fun and free years, and maybe it's best to walk away, even though it'll feel shitty right now. Compatibility is vital, especially with sex, otherwise resentment, yearning for better, and sometimes infidelity can arise. I would personally say move on without knowing either of you. In mid-30s, this is a most reasonable answer. Your sex drive is on full throttle now, but as time changes things, the throttle will back down, and if sex is the only issue, maybe it's not such a bad thing. There are much worse things out there. If she was cheating, I would say leave. If she was dumping your bank accounts, I would say flee. But seriously, if it's only about the sex, then enjoy life with a partner who may be the best person to ever invest their time with you. Relationships are work, hard work, and there will be some give and take. She's willing to give if you just accept her. I had the same dilemma, but from the opposite side. I consider myself ace, and the idea of having a romantic relationship sounded ridiculous. If I was not sexually attracted to my partner, then I got a boyfriend. The thing is, a relationship is more than just sex. It can be cuddles, long talks after midnight, sharing thoughts and experiences, being there for the other in the good and bad times, etc. I know that for you sex is a big deal, but maybe for her not. Obviously I cannot talk for her. You would have to ask her directly if you want to know. But for me, sex is a way to make happy my partner. And let me tell you that I love making him happy. The thing is, I don't have a problem with sex, and while it requires a little bit of effort sometimes, simply because you lack the natural push to do so, it doesn't mean it's not satisfying and fulfilling at the end. It's like reaching a goal, even if at the beginning sounded tough. With the plus that even if you don't understand it, you know you made someone important to you feel loved, and it's pleasurable. So no, it doesn't have to be the end, because she is ace. But it is still okay if you don't want to pursue a relationship with this new info. My biggest advice is to talk to her and see if she is really okay with having sex, or if it has the potential to become a burden, and how if you can solve it. Now, I'm not gonna lie, There were times I felt really guilty and thought that he should be with someone else. Someone who he could be mutually sexually attracted. Have crazy passionate sex where both of them couldn't have enough of each other. He told me he didn't care about that kind of stuff lol. He basically didn't care I was not attracted to him or anyone else. We have a connection and sex is still an act of love, just not pushed by hormones, and I'm willing to do so. So we are good. I'm not saying you have to be like him, or if it is sustainable at long term, but that it is possible for this kind of relationships to work. It's up to you, though, to decide if it's truly what you want. Hey Opus. I somewhat empathize with your GF. I'm not asexual, but over the last 2 years or so, my sex drive has gone from being constantly at a 9 or 10 to a 1 most days. The last month or so, that's been increasing a bit, but still, the bit about sex being physically pleasurable but not feeling horny enough to initiate really resonated with me. I'm currently in a long-term relationship and we have sex probably 2 to 3 times a month. Sometimes a bit more, which TBH absolutely sucks, as we went from having sex 4+ times a week to this. The point I want to make is that she is likely not forcing herself to have sex with you, like some suggested. In my case, I still find my partner attractive and do enjoy sex once initiated, and most of the time I even manage an orgasm or two. But even if I no longer feel the need to have sex, I know he sees sex as not just a biological need, but a romantic one, and a big part of intimacy. So while I sometimes, rarely, initiate it, and I sometimes say no, we do still have sex and it's really enjoyable for both. While I get that you will need time to understand and adapt to the new information, please don't think that you will always see it as her doing something she doesn't actually want, or thinking that you will always feel bad for wanting something she's only doing for you. These thoughts and feelings will pass if you decide to continue the relationship with time and communication. And once your dynamic adapts, they are very unlikely to keep having an impact on your views towards sex with her. Having said that, you mentioned you generally have vanilla sex, and that you have kinks. So this kinda negates what I said above. I think the question you should ask yourself is whether you would be happy with vanilla sex long term, regardless of how often the vanilla sex is, and ignoring the weird thoughts you currently have about your GF being asexual. I think this is much more likely to lead to resentment or dissatisfaction in the long term than your GF not having a high sex drive. For example, my partner has one major kink that he said he would feel unhappy/dissatisfied if he had to go without, which would be exacerbated if he didn't even get sex regularly. So that would have probably been a deal breaker for us. Luckily, while it's not one of my kinks, I also don't dislike it, and knowing he's really into it, I actually enjoy it. Also, I would suggest you look into ethical non-monogamy. There are so many different types of relationships, and we normally only hear about monogamous, cheating and open relationships, which I think for most people means being in a relationship while sleeping with someone else. But in fact, that's an umbrella term that can mean so much more. I will again provide a personal example. My partner and I have been non-monogamous before, and have said we will consider it again in the future if one of us wants to explore it, or aren't getting their needs met. I understand that's not for everyone, and it comes with a lot of unlearning of behaviors and thought patterns. But I genuinely think you would benefit from at least exploring the possibility before breaking up with your GF. Sorry for the long rambling post. Feel free to PM if you have any specific questions or want to know more. If she enjoys sex physically, the only reason not to continue a relationship would be if her not feeling sexual attraction, as opposed to romantic attraction, to you would shred your self-esteem. Hi, another asexual person in a happy relationship with a healthy sex life chiming in. To me, this sounds very much like you're really hung up on the idea that sexual attraction is the foundation of a relationship, and that sexual attraction and enjoyment of sex are part of the same thing. Speaking from experience, enjoying sex and having sexually attraction are not the same. As someone who doesn't have sexual attraction, I still enjoy sex very much. I even enjoy a whole lot of kinks a lot. It sounds like your girlfriend enjoys sex too. I think you should communicate more on how she feels about it, but I don't think it's something she finds no enjoyment from and does just to make you happy. If she likes the emotional connection and it's physically pleasurable, why isn't that enough? Also, the way she feels has not changed about you. The fact that she's coming out to you only changes the way you perceive her attraction to you. But the way she feels now is the same way she's felt during your entire relationship and you've never felt until now. That you'd be better off as friends. I would ask yourself how important this label is to you, and if it really changes anything about your relationship that she's choosing to identify this way. It definitely sounds like there needs to be more communication about where she falls on the spectrum of asexuality. But it seems like your relationship has been good so far. So what does this realistically change? You and your GF are not sexually compatible if she's asexual, and you want sex to continue to be part of a relationship. While she might be willing to go along with having sex, can you really live with yourself knowing that she really doesn't want to do it, and if she didn't feel she had to do it, she wouldn't? More importantly, how sustainable is it for her to keep having sex with you when she has to do it? You'll come to resent her, and she'll come to resent you. You're simply dragging out the inevitable breakup. The longer it takes, the more difficult it will be. Do you want to wake up in 10 years and realize that all her needs are being met with a platonic relationship with you, but many of your needs are not being met? Yeah. Even if I end up taking her up on her offer for sex, how long could that go on? She knows better than anyone whether or not she wants a sexual relationship, so I say just ask her. Being asexual doesn't necessarily mean sex repulsed. I think this person is wrong in suggesting this is an inevitable breaking point for your relationship. You can enjoy sex without feeling lust/horniness. I think the biggest issue is whether the frequency or vanilla sex you have is the deal breaker. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.